So today I thought I'd do something a little bit different. This is just 2 by 2 inch basswood. It is about, altogether it is 7 inches. And I just lopped off a piece at the bottom. That's 3/4 of an inch. And what I'm going to do is I just traced out the shoes. I'm going to carve those out on the sides and then split it down the middle. And this will be a Santa that is sort of standing with 2 separate shoes. Now you could actually just carve the shoes out, but I found that this is a little bit easier method. And what I do is once I get the shoes done, I put dowels in here, sink them into the base with just a touch of glue, and it turns out really nice. So the first part is going to be very carefully taking this knife and just kind of removing all the material as close to that pencil mark as I can get it. Okay, so this is what I've got at this stage, and I'm going to try to do as much carving as I can with this piece because it's easier, and when you get them smaller, I don't know, with my hands it just sort of complicates everything. So it's easier for me to work with larger things. So that's what I'm going to do. So I've kind of put a line where the top of the shoe is going to be. You want to carefully take a V-gouge, sort of create the first line. Okay, so I've done a little bit more, but I think at this point I'm going to go ahead and separate these 2 pieces. This is just a coping saw. And you just want to keep doing that, obviously, until you get right through it. Try to keep a straight line, not like I'm doing here. Then once we get them separated, then we'll round them off and make them look more like a shoe. Okay, now that I've got them separated, I'm just going to finish the job. You got to really watch your hands at this stage because you're working in close. But you kind of get the idea. You just want to keep working on this and round off the shoes. Okay, so this is what I've got so far. And I've just overlaid the 2 shoes so that I can get a better fit between the 2. Okay, so I've got the 2 shoes. They've turned out pretty good. And I've just kind of noted the wood grain because I'm going to match that up later when I finish carving the Santa. Something like that. So now that this is the front, so what I want to do is just the typical things that I do. Just shape this Santa basically into a bullet shape. Okay, I just marked out where I've got the shoulders. Just finished rounding everything off. That's the face. So I'm going to go ahead and take these shoulders out. This is going to be the face, so I want to be sure to push the face back to a point where I'll have room for the mittens. If I don't, it'll look like the Santa's trying to lean forward and is kind of a hunchback. So I'm going to take the face in just a little. Okay, so I'm going to pencil in the face and where I want the arms and what he's holding, and then we'll take it to the next step. Okay, so I've got that cleaned up, and I've penciled in the hat where I want that to go. Clean that up a little bit, like a little bit smoother. So the next step is going to be taking the V-gouge and just following that line of the brim. Okay, once I've got that cut, I just want to take the knife, follow that cut, about like that, and then I'm going to take the knife here and just do a relief cut, or a cut up against that stop cut that I made. And I'm going to pencil in the eye line and where I want the nose to go, about like this. And just for reference and scale, I'm going to go ahead and put the mustache. In this case, I'm going to carve the Santa holding a gift with a bow on the top right in the front. Okay, after doing that, basically the next step is to just carve into this line that we just put in. Get that classic T shape. Go under the nose. And this is that 70-degree flex cut gouge that I'm using. Same thing on this side. And I just want to keep removing material because I want that profile of the nose to stick out a little bit. Getting there, but a little bit more to do. Okay, so I've kind of got a little bit more of a definition on that nose. Now I'm going to go back, going from about halfway on that nose, kind of carve back a little bit. Okay, so I've got something that looks a little bit more like a nose. Now I'm going to go on the side of it, a little bit of pressure, do a little bit of a notch, back up towards the top. Same thing on this side. Match that notch on the other side. Flatten that out a little bit. Always checking to see if it's even. It looks like I'm a little high over here, so I'm going to take that off. Just kind of flatten that off a little bit. Even the eyes up a little bit. Looks like this one's a little bit long on that side. See how that looks. Take a little bit off right in there. It's better. Try to get the light just right. Okay, and then I'm going to sand these off and pencil in the eyes. And this is a little bit different way of doing the eyes. I know on larger carvings, you want to actually create mounds where you can carve in the eye and the eyelid and all of that. But on these smaller carvings, I've kind of felt that, found out that, for me at least, this method seems to work pretty good. But when you get into a bigger carving, you know, of course, you've got more real estate to do the eye mounds and do it a little bit more traditional, I guess I would call it. Okay, so I'm going to pencil the eyes and show you what that looks like. Okay, I've got the mustache penciled back in, and I'm going to carve this eye out. This is the flex cut. Gosh, I think it's 2mm V gouge. Very tiny. And follow that with the knife. Very light touch. Let's grab that knife again, come back. Underneath. Oh. I'm a little too far on that one. I think it'll work out because I usually do on the corner of the eye right here. A little bit of a notch like that. Okay, so the next step is just to shape that eye out. Actually, I'll use the knife to do that. I usually take that corner out with the knife. Pop that corner out. That one. And this side. Okay, next step is the 70 degree right on the side of the chin. Like that. Base. Okay. Okay, at this point, I think what I'll do is just follow that up with the knife and kind of remove a little bit of the material, sort of make the bow and the box stand out just a little bit more. Okay, so what I've done is I've just made that box stand out a little bit more, that gift box. And I'm going to go ahead and put the holes in the bow and all that a little bit later on, but I think the next step is I'm going to do the underside of the arms. Just pop this wood out. While we're at it, we can go ahead and carve in the beard. Okay. So I'm going to finish up this other arm, and then I'm going to take the V-gouge and work on these mittens. Okay, so I've got both sides of the material that's been removed, and I've used the V-gouge underneath the mittens, so I'm just going to use this knife blade to shape that out a little bit more. And then start taking this out. Okay, so now all of this material has got to come out. And while I'm at it, I have to decide how much of a hunchback do I want this Santa to be. And that will depend on how much material I take out of here. So I think I'll use my larger gouge, just kind of work away. this, okay, so what I've been doing is trying to take away from the square base by just kind of knocking off these edges like this. Just making sure that I've got some shape to it, not perfectly square at the bottom. Okay, so he's getting there. And I think I'm going to add a cuff on the bottom here as well. I think in this case that would look pretty nice. So I'm just going to pencil that cuff in. Okay, use that 70-degree gouge and just follow that base all the way around. Okay, after doing that, the next thing I'm going to do is just use this U-shaped gouge and go around the buttons. And you want to come in here, probably not a bad idea to just put a really light knife cut in here. Okay, now getting into the cap area, I think I can take some of the brim off where it's a little bit too thick. So I think I'll pencil that brim in. Make it a little higher on this side, give them a little swagger. Then take the large gouge, the number 12. This is a Feel, P-F-E-I-L. They make really good gouges, Swiss. Some of that. Need a little bit more work done up here. So for this, I'm going to be going like that, taking this out. So first things first, I'm going to finish this brim and then start working on this. Okay, next up, remove some of this material. Since I don't have the tassel coming down here, I have to figure out where I want the tassel to be. Might be good to have it on this side, so I'm going to remove some of this material. Okay, and you can see I've dipped in just a little bit because I want to put that tassel somewhere in here. So the next thing is to take that 70-degree gouge, V-gouge, and just kind of take some of this material out and then start shaving that tassel down. Okay, so I've got the tassel shaped out a little bit, and I think the next thing is just to take the edge off of this brim slightly. Okay, maybe I'll form those cheeks a little bit better. Do the same thing that I did to the brim, just take the edge off of those corners a little bit. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is just accentuate these elbows just a little bit more. That crease right there. Kind of like that. Okay. And I've kind of penciled in the way that I want the fur to go. So I'm just going to use this. This is just that U gouge. I don't know if you can see that shape, but it really is just a U. And just want to go like this. I want to get in there closer to the face without scratching it. This just adds a lot of character to it. Such a simple thing to do. Okay, having just finished the cap, I think what I'll do is start on this lower portion of the robe. Okay, and for the beard, I just took this U-gouge and did a lot of different cuts, some at different angles. And I'm going to follow it up with the 70-degree gouge and just sort of accentuate those a little. So this is where you start to look at the scale of the Santa and you look at the shoes. And it looks like I'm a little heavy in the front of these shoes. So I think what I'm going to do is taper those shoes down a little bit and then hold them up and just kind of even shape them up a little bit more to make them look a little more realistic. And I can see the top I've got to take off a little bit more. Just a little bit more shaping has got to be. They look a little clownish. So I'm going to work on that. Put the boots on, I just kind of find out where the sweet spot is. That is where the Santa's going to sit without any dowels or anything, and it's right there. So at this point, I just take them and I push down and I rock them into the back so that I can get two lines. I don't know if you can see those. But there's two lines right there where the back of the boot, the top of the back of the boot just kind of made an indentation. So that's the sweet spot. So that's where I know the back of the boot has got to go. So the next part is coming over here to the drill. And I'm just going to put, with this drill press, just two little holes in the top of these boots, right where I want the dowel to go. So now that I've got the two holes drilled, I just want a little bit above the boot. So I'm going to put a little mark carefully right there. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And then this dowel is so thin, I'm just going to roll it with the knife and then snap it. Okay, now that I've got the dowels in there, I haven't glued them in yet, but I'm just going to put a little bit of pencil graphite on the end of it look, here's my 2 marks right there. So if I line it up, first one's going to go there. And my other mark for the heel is right there. And it's going to go there. So the next step is to come over here to the drill press and lower this and then actually put the 2 holes in there. And that's how it looks right now with everything dry fitted. So the next step is just to glue it all in. So I found that the best way to do this glue is basically just use the end of a paintbrush. Doesn't take much. In that goes. A little bit more up there. Same thing over here. A little bit for the dowel. That goes in. And a little bit more for the Santa. Then you just kind of orient the Santa the way that you'd like him to go. I think that's pretty good. That's how he looks, and you just let him dry up, and then it's another Santa to paint.